Hi, I recorded this entire video like this. So, just bear with the edits. I did the best I could. I hope you guys still enjoy the message and learn a little something today. Have you ever felt like you can't stay consistent? Like you start off super strong, you're motivated, you're doing all of the things, and then just life happens. You miss a day, suddenly you feel like you failed, then you feel like you're back at square one. We are now into February, and we start off in January usually super strong. We start off with all of these goals and we get super excited about how we're going to change our life this year. That was me for a really long time. And today I want to talk about the real reason consistency felt so hard for me and what finally changed. First, I just want to share with you that I used to have this all or nothing mindset. Like I was either showing up and I had to show up perfectly or I was not at all. So I was either eating really good or I was eating like crap, just all the junk food. There was no middle ground for me and there was zero in between. It was this all or nothing. You had to show up perfectly mentality. And that's what kept me stuck for a really long time. So with that mindset, I always felt like I had to restart. And I always had those thoughts that I never followed through. Here I go again. I'm going to fail. So I have to start again. And nothing felt consistent. When I'd have those thoughts, then I'd get those feelings of guilt and shame because those thoughts that I'm not good enough and I always quit, I never follow through, you always restart, you can never finish anything. Those thoughts create the feeling of shame and guilt. And it's so hard to work through that if you don't connect those two. And truly, when those thoughts would come up, I would quit. This isn't because I didn't care, but it hurt too much to keep going while I felt like a failure. Nobody wants to live in that guilt and the shame. It is so exhausting and it's so painful. So quitting just felt so much easier than learning how to continue imperfectly. Here's the truth now, after 2.5 years of working on this mindset and working through that feeling of guilt and shame, there are some days I simply don't show up. There are some days that I do the bare minimum and just showing up, I guess just for the day, taking a shower, cooking supper for the family is enough. There's also other times where I make it a point to walk every day. And I can do that for a week at a time. I can sometimes do that a month at a time. And then there's other times where I just simply don't. Here's the shift. I've taken the pressure off. I've let go of the belief that I have to show up perfectly every day. I've learned to tell myself that missed days don't erase the progress. Showing up imperfectly doesn't cancel everything I've done. And this is what I mean by showing up imperfectly. Is instead of doing a 30-minute walk, I either A, don't do any movement, or I'll stick it to 5 minutes. And I will be like, you know what? I'm just going to get 5 minutes of movement, whether I'm stretching, whether I'm walking, whether I'm go up and down my stairs, whatever it is. I keep it so simple that I can't not follow through with it. And I readjust and I realign my big 30-minute goal to something manageable. Learning how to show up imperfectly actually strengthens you because you learn how to pick up instead of restarting every time you don't do exactly what you say you want to do. You learn to readjust and realign to allow it to fit instead of constantly pushing yourself to this place that just runs you down and breaks you down. you readjust and you realign to a place that feels good. Now, I want to share an example in my own real life and a vulnerable moment for me. And I've shared this before in another video, so you may have already heard it, but it's something I'm really proud of, and it really shows how far I've come. In August, I chose to give up alcohol because it just wasn't serving me in the way that it used to. Now we're in February of 2026, so it's been like almost 6 months that I have not drank alcohol. During this time frame, there was one time in October that for whatever reason, I was like, I'm gonna drink. So there was this day that I drank. And I did it with intention to get drunk. Was there a piece of me that was super disappointed? Absolutely. I was so frustrated at myself. And I sat in that moment for a second and I looked at myself and I talked to myself and I said, how can I learn from this? Now, my old self, I would have lived in that shame and that guilt of you failed. You were just sober for 2 months and now you drank. You're never going to figure this out. You're never going to follow through. You always mess things up. And that's truly the way that I would live my life. And then I would just live in it and I probably would have just kept drinking because that seemed like that was the right thing to do. I already did it, so why not just keep doing it? And this is where things truly started to shift for me. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you're not drinking alcohol or trying to lose weight or wanting to work out more. This applies to all of that. Because instead of allowing myself to live in that guilt and that shame, I shifted my thoughts and I got curious. I started asking myself, why did I choose to drink? How did I feel after I drank that? And one of the biggest things was what can I do differently if I have that feeling come up again where I really had that strong pull to drink? What can I do differently? And truly, you guys, this curiosity started around food because there were weeks and even months where I would just eat in a way that did not feel good. And instead of shaming myself, I would start asking myself, what's going on here? What am I trying to avoid? What does my body actually need right now? And that curiosity kept me moving forward. Whereas shame keeps you stuck. So I've started treating my goals like science experiments. Not good or not bad, it's just information. What happens if I wake up early this week, like 3 times? How do I feel? What worked? What didn't? The key, the biggest thing is if I set the goal to wake up 3 times one week and I only did it 2 times, I stopped shaming myself and living in that guilt. And I started getting curious, just asking what's working, what's not. Was 3 times just too big of a goal right now? Maybe 2 is just where I need to stick to. I readjust, I learn, and I just keep going. I keep moving. I was actually talking to my therapist about this last week. And I had this analogy. So I went and watched my niece play basketball, and on defense, they were crushing it. They were moving like they were all over it. But when it came to offense, they were kind of just standing around. It's like they were just waiting for something to happen. It hit me because I realized there's often times where I just kind of stand there waiting for something to happen. There was this light bulb moment that went off and I was like, you know what? You have to move in order to get what you want. You can't just stand around and wait for it to happen. Like that offense, you need to move your body. You need to pass the ball in order to see momentum happen. Movement doesn't have to be loud or drastic for it to count. Sometimes movement is just choosing not to quit on yourself and doing it quietly. It's simply giving yourself permission to show up in a way that actually feels good. It feels safe for your nervous system, and it's not something that's forced. It's not pressure. It's not performative. Because when consistency feels unsafe, Our body is gonna fight it every time. You don't have to try harder. You don't have to have a new plan. You need to learn to stay aligned with yourself. When you learn to stay aligned, you learn how to adjust without that shame or that guilt. And you learn to just continue without that feeling of restarting every single time something gets a little messy. And let me tell you, that's where real freedom comes from. Thank you for being here. I love you. Have a great day. Always be real.